Welcome to AI Lab Unfiltered, where we take a deep dive into AI, tools, applications, and stories. With us today, we have John Butler from Echo X and Evoa. We're going to talk about AI agents and Charlie. John, take it away.
What a handoff. So we decided that we were going to start by talking, shout out to your mom. If you want to look in the camera and say, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
And you have an AI avatar that has now making its way around the interwebs on Facebook, and your friends have seen it. You want to share your story about how you're...
Sure, yeah.
Give us some background. Tell us how you got to that point.
So, like I was telling you guys, this is my first podcast. I was always super, super uncomfortable on video. Don't like the way that I sound, right? I feel like I sound like Patrick Mahomes most of the time. And so it's like, I don't want to be on video. I don't like it. And I'm kind of a perfectionist too. And so the times that I would try to do video, right, from like a sales, element piece, I would end up recording and then editing. And I'm like, I stepped over my words here, or I did this wrong, or I'm looking all over the place. And so something that should have taken a couple minutes was taking me hours. And I was just super critical of myself. And so I actually, a guy in our office, guy who heads up our sales, Austin, finds this product called HeyGen. And he's like, this is pretty cool. Like, you can make these AI videos on HeyGen. You should check this out. And I was like, whatever, you can make these videos on anything. And he's like, you can do one of yourself. And I started thinking, I was like, man, if I could just write these scripts for myself and I could get this pretty good, I can start putting out all this content that I've always wanted to put out, but I just didn't want to spend the time to make it. And so pretty much like taught myself how to build out these AI agents, figured out how to clone myself, clone my voice, get everything up in there. And then what I started doing is probably back in 2021, 2022, our CTO and another partner at our company, Nate, he built out this elaborate platform where he had like Airtable, and he had make.com and a bunch of other automations to where he could essentially like start plugging stuff in, and this would just go build all this thought leadership content. And it would put it out on LinkedIn and whatever form. But it was all very generic. And I was like, Nate, can we use that same thing and take HeyGen's API and just have this run for me, and it'll just rip it? And I don't even need to know what's on it. Just know that I've got like content going out. He's like, yeah, we can do that. Nice. And so we just start pumping out content every day. The problem is that it was super generic stuff. And it's somewhere along the line, like I got put on LinkedIn's naughty list, right? They decided like, I've got almost 10,000 connections, followers, whatever they have on LinkedIn, but my posts were only getting like 80 impressions every single day. They're like maxed out, and most of them were coming like weeks later. And I was like, this probably is hurting me more, like just putting out this generic content. So then I started like actually trying to put some thought into what I was putting out, right? Making sure that it was like very trending topics and stuff that people could relate to from, like a sales guy's perspective, right? So yeah, that's kind of how I started doing that series. But that everything's kind of like waterfalled into these other things and other projects. So Charlie by Echo X and Evoa are kind of our two main. Well, I take that back. We've got an AI inventory oracle that we built too. So we've got 3 products, and I didn't mention that in my email, but those 3 products. But the whole AI thing is kind of going a little bit everywhere for me right now. So
for everybody,
I think we can relate.
Yeah. For anyone that's following it, I mean, there's so much content to sift through. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally every night I'm spending an hour just going through different subreddits that are all AI based, and I've got 3 or 4 week or daily emails that come in. So I start my day, 5 minutes per email, just scrolling through, the latest AI news and everything. There's so much. So just before we get past it, so for anyone that's interested in HeyGen, the way that that's spelled is HEYGEN.
Yeah.
There is a free version. You can go out there and check it out. Create some. You can. I did it. I don't know, 18 months ago. You record a minute or two of yourself like talking, and then it can just start to recreate you. I'm sure they've reduced that time down now. It's a lot easier, but.
Man, Diet Coke's a bad choice. Just burping into the mic the whole time.
We can get you some water.
I got some too. I like Diet Cokes in the morning.
But you also touched on something too that we actually just talked about with our previous guest, Kim, where it's now so easy to generate content.
Yeah.
And you talked about getting on the LinkedIn naughty list. And what we had talked about is there's going to be this, and it's already started, this flood of content, and that's whether it's video or text content or whatever it is, it's going to flood every available channel. It's going to be hard to sift through. Some people may just shut down and stop consuming this content because there's not going to be much for them. And I'm sure then once people aren't getting impressions from it, they'll do the same thing that you did. They'll back down and go, you know what, I have to go back to creating valuable content, things that people want to see.
It's the dead internet theory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting that you lived that, and we were just talking about it 30 minutes ago with Kim. So
yeah. So tell me about Echo X and Charlie. Like what does it do? Because it clearly evolved into your own videos that you're posting turned into this. I'm guessing that seems like the evolution.
Yeah. So probably what I should do is maybe take a step back and tell you like how we even got into AI.
Perfect.
Right. So probably late 2019, Nate, our CTO, was reading this book, and oh gosh, it's escaping me the name of the book. It was I think it is Blue Brain Project. Does that sound familiar? Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
So Blue Brain Project, if I'm even getting that right, it was the first synthetic brain, and it's a story about how this group or this company built like a synthetic brain to like learn and understand. And this is before, like, obviously AI is everywhere. It's a big buzzword now, but really nobody was talking about it back then. It was a lot of robotics, right? Robotics was kind of like the cool thing, Boston Robotics, but nobody was really doing much with AI or machine learning. And so Nate was saying like, man, I think I could actually build something like this. And me as a sales guy, right? I'm just like, cool. Like, all right, tell me how to sell it. Like, if you're gonna build it, great. Like a synthetic brain, what does that mean, like for sales? And so, fast forward a couple months later, COVID hits, and we start going through all of these instances where nobody knows how to get into meetings. Nobody knows if they're meeting in person or if it's a virtual meeting, or the dates are always wrong. And when you're meeting with multiple people instead of just like a one-on-one thing, the emails that had to go, you guys know, right? If you want to have a sales meeting with 5 people, how many emails go through?
Yeah.
20?
Yep.
Right? If you're lucky. And so I was just venting in one of our partner meetings. I was like, man, my whole day sucks. All I'm doing is going back and forth. Like, here's my availability, and somebody else will say their availability, and we'll get it down to the last guy. But he's like the key man. And that guy will be like, I'm on vacation. And he won't even say anything else. He'll just be, I'm on vacation.
Yep.
And you're like, great. Well, starting from square one, I guess. And then you say, okay, well, here's my availability. You know, that. And when we were looking for solutions out there, like Calendly existed, but there was really nothing else. There was this other company called X.AI, and before Elon bought Twitter, right? And so they had a pretty good system, but they ended up being acquired by like this British concert venue thing, whatever. And so Nate was like, I'm going to build a scheduling tool. And he goes, I'm not going to tell you guys much more, but this is going to eliminate all the problems that you're having with scheduling these sales meetings and getting stood up for meetings and everything else. And I was like, sweet, run it. Let's do that. So he comes back with kind of like this, not even a POC, just like, duct tape and popsicle sticks thing. And he's like, look, I've trained this thing up, and this is probably in the span of about 2 weekends. It's like, I've trained this thing up on every email that I've ever had in my G Suite. And he's like, tens of thousands, maybe, hundreds of thousands of emails with all of his Gmail combined. And he goes, this is pretty good. Like, this is going to start to learn like intent of people trying to book meetings with you. It's going to be able to do all these things that you would normally do on your computer to schedule these meetings. And it's going to have a sync to your availability. And so anyways, long story short, we're like, this is a product, man. Like, we need to build this out. There isn't a solution like this out there. Calendly at the time was junk, right? It was basically just like, here, you can view a calendar and like see how it syncs up. So we launched it, and it's called Sidekick AI. I ran that for probably 2 years. It did pretty well. I want to say at the end, we probably had 8,000 or 9,000 active users on it. So not like crazy, right? But it's okay, right? For a startup, we bootstrapped the whole thing. And then we ended up having a successful exit in spring of 2023. And then that led us to the voice AI software, right? That was starting to get really popular, starting to come out. Air.ai, if you guys have ever heard of them, they were like the first. And then there's a bunch of other ones that came out after, and the market's pretty saturated now, right? There's a ton of them. And so we started doing voice AI for ourselves, right? For sales, because you guys make cold calls, right?
Yep.
It's terrible. Nobody likes doing it.
Exactly.
And you're not very good at it, right? Most people aren't at least. And so when we started looking at these voice AI softwares, we realized like, you can make 10,000 calls in a week with this thing, and it costs next to nothing. And yeah, it's not very good, but junior sales guys aren't very good anyways. And those are the people doing these cold calls. So if we're thinking about it, right, like our opportunity loss probably isn't that much from this thing screwing up or stuttering over itself or whatever it is. So we started running it for ourselves, and it was good. Like, it did really well.
Really?
And and so we're like, man, I was talking to like a buddy of mine at Golf League, and was telling him about this. And he's like, dude, I want that. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, why wouldn't I want that?
Yeah.
And so we started talking to more people, and they're like, yeah, I got to have this. Like, how do I get this? How, can you guys set me up, with the same thing? So we're like, well, this might be like another business. Like, maybe we should look at like building this thing out. And so, we decided to build it out. We named it Echo X. And so this is summer, like late summer, early fall of 2023. We get this thing built out, and it starts going pretty well. Like, it takes off to the point where I am in a room like this, a conference room like this, and I'm in half-hour demos every half hour on the hour, just ripping these meetings, because it's scheduling the meetings for itself.
Nice.
Right. And then I'm just talking to the people about how to, what this thing actually does. And so you fast forward like, a couple months, and then in January of 2024, the FCC comes down with all these regulations, like, shit's done. Like, you guys are
really?
not. Yeah. So FCC comes out in January, and it all had to do with, there was like this political group that was impersonating Biden on the East Coast, I think maybe like Boston or something like that. And it was calling people, and it was saying like, hey, stay home and save your vote. And it was Joe Biden's voice. Obviously, like, that's no good, right?
Right,
You
right.
had people doing that, and they thought it was good. It was good. They thought it was Joe Biden. And so the government's like, all right, enough's enough. Like, we're putting a stop to this. And so they basically said, any AI or any robocalls or anything like that, if you don't have express consent to be able to like call this person, it's like a $1,500 fine per phone call.
Per instance. Yeah.
Times 10,000 a week.
Times a lot, right? And these things can do, I mean, that's just if you're, that's if you want, like, if you have enough leads to call, like, these can do millions of calls in a day if you want them to.
Right.
And so we kind of had to figure out what we were going to do with that. Like, most of our customers, they were in sales and they're buying leads off like Zoom Info and Apollo and, all the main players, right? Yep. But they don't have consent for nothing. And so they're like, what are we going to do? Are we going to get fined? Like, what does this mean? And I'm like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. Like, I'm looking at the document just like you are. I can kind of interpret it and give you my 2 cents, but I don't know what this means. And so we had like a little bit of a hiccup with the software, especially for like outbound calls, which is kind of like the powerful thing with the tool, right? And so we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do, how we wanted to pivot. And we kind of just like kept things running, and it was good, but the money was kind of like going like this. Like people would cancel, people would come back on, because sales at that point kind of turned into like short-term marketing campaigns. They're like, hey, I've got a list of, X amount of people that I can call. Let me run this. But after that, I don't want it anymore.
Then I'm done. Yeah.
And we didn't,
Was this sold as a subscription base?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a monthly subscription, and we didn't have a cancellation policy. So we're like, hey, this product's so new, we want to get people on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Cancel whenever you want,
yeah.
Right? Like, you're going to like it. So we're not really worried about people, canceling because they don't like it. But the problem ran into is like, the FCC put the hammer down on this, which is good, because I don't know if you guys get a lot of like junk and spam calls.
Not calls. I don't get a whole lot of calls.
Yeah, I really don't.
I get so many.
Really?
So many. Probably because I sign up for a lot of
it's karma
nonsense, right? You're probably right.
It's coming back around.
But I sign up for a lot of like nonsense, like trials, and like you sent me that Lovable account yesterday. Signed up for that, right?
Now you're getting robocalls from that.
Yeah, boy, I feel like your numbers got to go somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
they're not collecting it for nothing.
Yeah, they're doing something with it, and they don't call you, so it's going somewhere. I bet you I get. And most of them are people wanting to do like business lines of credit. I'm not kidding. Probably 20 a day.
Really?
Yeah. I've got my phone to the point where if I don't have the number stored, it doesn't even ring, because I was getting so many of them. And then there'll be like, end of the week where I'll go through and just say, all right, block this number, delete this number, block this number. But it's legit all like people wanting to do business lines of credit, and it's all AI that's doing it. So that whole industry all shifted. And you could definitely go in and pop those people, and you could hit them for like, I don't even know what the law is now, but there's people that make a living off of just like coming in and hammering those people that are calling them that aren't allowed to call them.
Well, if they're even stateside,
True.
If they're overseas and stuff like that, like if they're calling from China or something, even we know they have no laws around that. So
right.
So there's gonna be people listening. They're like, I kind of want this product. So is it still an offering, or is it still something that somebody could sign up for? Or
well, yeah. So you guys will find out. I'm ADHD, like undiagnosed, but I definitely have it. And so wrangle me back in, right, where I go off on tangents. So anyways, we're kind of like trying to figure out what we want to do with Echo X, right? It's doing pretty well. It's up to like 60,000, monthly recurring revenue. So, it's bringing in some decent cash. And so we're looking at our options. We're looking at, okay, where do we have the best retention in our customer base? Because we're doing it for, everybody under the sun. We had insurance agencies, we have gyms, we had a tennis facility, we had call centers, we even have a karate dojo that was using this, right? And so when we were looking at all of this, we're like, what do we want to do with this? Like, where are our easiest customers to work with? Where are our happiest customers? And where do we have the best retention? Like, who sees the most value from this? And it turned out that it was real estate, and it was in property management, right? we had a kind of a unique advantage with that too, is that two of the other partners, they own probably like 500 doors between them. One of my best friends since I was 5, he has a property management company. Him and I are golf league partners. So every Wednesday, right, 5 o'clock hits, we're on a tee box, we're, teeing it up.
Yeah.
He's got to take a maintenance request call. Right. And he's got to walk a hole because he's talking to somebody about their stove caught on fire. And so I would see like all these pain points that he was having. I'm like, man, I feel like we could almost create an AI agent that would do everything. Right. So right now, Charlie by Echo X, right, we've completely pivoted away to where it's only for property management, and it will do rent collection. And so it's got a system of doing rent collection, which I didn't even know this, but most property management companies, it's like 10% of their monthly rents go uncollected. Well, if you've got, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 doors, each one of those are paying, $1,500, $2,000, right? I don't even know.
That adds
what
up quick.
That's a big chunk of change. And to have somebody like sit on the phone and do those calls, it's shitty, right? Like that's not a job somebody wants. And so Charlie will go in, she'll handle it as soon as rent becomes X amount of days late. And it depends on the state that you live in for when you can start to hit people. For Michigan, it's 7 days, I think. Excuse me. As soon as it's 7 days late, she sends an email. Says, hey, you're 7 days late. Maybe you forgot, maybe something happened. Here's a payment link. See what's up. They don't respond to that. They don't resolve it. She's then going to send a text message. Say, hey, you're 8 days late. What's the story? Like, let's get this, let's try and get this taken care of. If that doesn't get resolved, then she will call him the next day. And then it's just a revolving door of Charlie just going through and trying to get that rent collected. The other thing is the after hours maintenance requests. So, people that are renting properties, right, tenants, most of their stuff is happening not while they're at work, right, 9 to 5.
Right.
They're having issues with their property, right, after 5 o'clock when they're doing like their normal like day-to-day nighttime.
When they're home.
Yeah, when they're home.
Yeah.
So they're getting all these after-hour maintenance requests, and those are going to like an answering machine. Somebody then has to go through the answering machine and figure out what's going on. They're just saying, hey, my toilet's clogged. Well, is there a leak, right? All they said was their toilet's clogged. So they don't know like how do I even send somebody out there? Am I going to go there and deal with like 2 inches of water in your basement bathroom?
Right.
What am I dealing with?
What's the level of issue?
And so Charlie will do it 24/7. Most people only do the after hours though. Whether that's, just testing it out, or they want to keep the people that they have and they don't really know where to like allocate them to, get, more money generating activities from that role.
Right.
So they'll do the after hours, and then she APIs in with whatever property management software you have. So like, what are some of the ones that we've got? So I keep getting them confused with these other softwares. So like AppFolio is one. That's like the biggest one. Anyways, people will know.
So it grabs a lot of this information, kind of assesses all of this for you before you even get notified as a human on the other end to say, here's what you're going to be walking into, or here's what needs to happen, or it's already taken care of. Right?
Well, it's got all these automations built on the back end. So like the voice calling.
And this, for people watching, this this is what Charlie looks like as the avatar form of it.
Fake person Charlie.
Wow.
So it just helped kind of like when we were doing this, and we wanted to create like a persona around it. It just helped to put like a face, right? Just got a voice, got all these other things, right? So that kind of made sense. So when she's doing this after hour support, there's a lot of these automations and everything else that are built in that have to function on the back end, like these different API calls and things like that. Yep. So she answers the calls. She goes through the different questions, right? Like, hey, my toilet's clogged. okay, do you like know what happened to it? Is it just too much toilet paper, right? Did somebody, lay a landmine? Like, what's the story? No, my kid like flushed a toy down the toilet. Okay, got it. So like, is there any leaks? Yeah, there's a leak. Okay, is it, a couple drops of water per minute? Is it a glass of water per minute? Is it buckets of water per minute? Right? And then once she has all of that information, then she can go into the property management software, build out the maintenance ticket, and then that maintenance ticket's going to go right to the vendor. So there's like, it's cutting out all the
So it's
middleman.
pretty seamless.
Right. And
You just get a report. Hey, this is what's happening.
yeah. So those reports will come in. If there's a serious issue, right? Like stove is on fire, right? My furnace blew up, right? Something happened bad. She'll be able to like deem the type of emergency that it is, and then she can go text the property manager and say like, hey, here's an emergency. Like Bob just called and said his house is on fire. Like, I feel like I need to get you involved.
Yeah.
Here's Bob's information. Probably call him. Like, I don't think we have anybody set up to have her call 911, and I don't even think legally she could. Technically she could, but I don't think legally.
Yeah.
I don't think legally she could.
But she could probably suggest it.
Yeah,
She
maybe.
does. Yeah, she would suggest
Call,
it.
especially if there's a fire. It's
Yeah.
like, hang up the phone, call the freaking 911 and get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
It's
So that's kind of Charlie in a nutshell, right? She's also got like some different side features as far as there's a review system that's built in. So, my buddy, when I was asking him about this, I was like, what are some other things that suck that you don't like to do? Because when we're looking at AI and automation, it's kind of like it's good, but it's not that good. So really what it's made for is to get rid of the nonsense, right? The things that we don't like to do or the things that we don't want to do. So it's like, what are some of those things? If we're going to build an all-in-one solution, what are some of these things we can add to it?
Yeah.
And he's like, man, he goes, my team struggles with doing follow-ups, right? So if somebody moves in, they're supposed to call them and follow up and see how the move-in went. If somebody has a maintenance request, right, they're supposed to call them and follow up and see how the maintenance request went. And so it's a lot of like reactive stuff instead of proactive stuff. So every time there's something happening, right, for these tenants, Charlie's going to follow up with them and just say like, hey, how did everything go? After that, she's going to then say like, how would you rate your experience between like 1 and 5? And if they say, it's 5, you guys did awesome, I'm like super happy. She's going to say, okay, cool. Like, can I text you a link? Would you mind doing me a favor? And I'll text you a link to our, whatever review site's your worst. And you guys could leave us a review on there. And so it's kind of almost guaranteeing a 5-star review because we know they already said they had a 5 experience.
Yeah.
And if you give me a 1, I'm not going to send you the link to rate me.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like if they say 1 or 2 or, whatever you deem to be bad, because some people want 4-star reviews because they're reviews, right? People only want to complain. Nobody's going out and saying like, let me tell you about all the good stuff that's been going on for me lately.
Exactly.
Right? The internet warriors, they want to tell you like, here's all the bad stuff.
Yep.
And so if it's deemed bad, then she will say, man, I'm really sorry. Like, be empathetic with them about what their situation is. And then she's going to send them a link to an internal form that they can go vent and have their problems. It's off of a public forum, and that can go be addressed before this person gets really pissed and starts to, whatever people do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So this is designed right now for property management.
Mm-hmm.
But the application of this could be
I'm already thinking
frickin'
like once we get out in
everywhere.
the hallway here, I have like 2 other ways that we can use that. So
Yeah, there is an enormous amount of application for this.
yeah.
I mean, you name it, anything that has really customer ends to it.
Well, if you're looking at things that can be done with voice and then things that can be done on a computer, you can almost do anything, right? Because if you've got the voice to handle that interaction,
Right.
and then you're building out automations, and they're, if you're looking at Zapier or Make, or there's a ton of them out there, and they're easy to use.
Yep.
You get those automations built out, and they just run. Right. I saw last night, you were mentioning that you kind of doom scroll on these different, for me, it's social media. You said you get like some emails coming in. But I saw like Zapier launched their AI agents. I don't know if it was yesterday or recently, whatever, but you can just go in and you can connect them to all of your, third party, right? Whether it's Gmail or whatever. And you write a prompt and say, like, here's what I want this thing to do for me. And then all of a sudden that bullshit task that you don't like, gone.
Right.
Right. How crazy is that?
It is wild.
It wasn't too long ago where we were doing all of our CRMs for our company. Like 10 years ago, we were doing our CRMs just in like an Excel spreadsheet. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you went from Excel to a gigantic CRM like a Salesforce or whatever. And what I see it going back to is more bespoke. Like, I don't know I think Salesforce, and I know that they're working on their own agents and things like that, because I think they kind of see it too. Is this the beginning of the end for big software? If I can create my own software that's useful for me, like I know I need a CRM, I know exactly what I need. I don't need all the other 10,000 bells and whistles that you built into this thing for every feature request that you ever got from any user in the entire world. Just this little thing that I need for my business.
Yeah.
And if I can create that on my own, I want to talk about coding, and I know you're doing some of that with AI. I want to talk about that before we leave too. I think that's the future of software. Is I'm going to kind of just say what I need, and it's going to build itself, and I don't need to go buy Salesforce.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys
Mark that, Evan? That's a future prediction by Pete. I think maybe that should be a feature that we have in this, is that I predict the future, then we come back later and we see if it came true.
Do you guys like conspiracy theories?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
How far into this are we? Like half hour. So my wife will watch this and she'll be mad if I talk about it, but she won't get this far into it. She'll just watch enough to like appease me. And be like, you did good. Like you sounded okay. But she won't listen this far in. So I love conspiracy theories, right? To a fault, I think. And I don't believe them. Like I'm not trying to be a goofball, but I just like them. Like they're interesting.
Sure,
and I think
they're
it's just,
interesting.
it's just crazy stuff, right? Like, the pyramids have these shafts that go down like 600 meters, right?
Yep.
Like, that's probably not true, but man, what if, right? I've got a group chat with my buddies, and we'll just send each other conspiracy theories and say nothing else except like what period, if period. And it's just like
the moon landing was not real.
Yeah, this is stupid, but it's just fun. And so when I was thinking about all these like conspiracy theories, you just brought up the fact like, I wonder what is going to happen to big software. And this kind of like leads into some of this other stuff that I'm working on. You can almost take any software right now and rip it off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's with like, whether you're using Cursor or Riplet or Lovable or whatever. I saw something called same.new, a website where you can enter a URL and it spits out in like instantly almost.
Yeah.
In a replica of the site, like the entire front end code and everything, where you can just copy it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what are these big players in the space going to do? Like these guys that are charging massive fees for this software, what are they going to do if, somebody like us comes in? I've never coded before. I don't think you guys ever have.
Not even in the slightest.
Right? But you sent me Lovable and you're like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
So I assume you've used that.
I've used the hell out of it.
Have you made anything?
I've built websites with it. I built some mobile apps with it. And I built another app that I use for proposals, for timelines, to make automatically make timelines for me. Based on certain criteria, and it has a hell of a lot of variables that it's got to sift through.
Yeah.
But the website I built, that was the first thing I built with it, going, how good is this going to be? 2 prompts, and that thing was like, shit, this is nice.
Yeah.
Like this is, and I was on the free version at that point. Of course, I bought it 10 seconds later. I bought into the subscription, but it was 2 prompts, and I was already 85% of the way there. And it had a form on it. It had a contact, it had email, and the nice thing is what they're doing with a lot of these is it's taking away not just the coding, but the actual publishing part now is really starting to catch up, where one click and now it's published.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a custom URL to that? Do you want to have, where do you want to place the 2 clicks and you're done? And it's up and online and it's here you go. I was literally in the committee meeting. It was for a nonprofit I was working with. And I was in this committee meeting and they're saying, well, we need a website. We need it to do this. We need to do this. Here's a bunch of PDFs with information.
Over here, just like typing
I'm
away.
literally, while everybody's talking and I'm just shoving it all in here into the computer and I'm going, here you go. Is this what you guys like? And it was the whole page from Lovable here's your website. And they're like, yeah, that's great.
That's so crazy.
Didn't know you were building that. I said, I was just doing it while you're talking.
That's so crazy. And something like that, right? Unless you're building it on WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, right? Unless it can fall underneath that umbrella, that's taken weeks or months to build for people that are charging like hundreds of dollars per hour.
And believe me, we're looking at it because BizStream, where I'm working, it's a web development company, digital agency, and we build out a lot of big websites.
Yeah.
We're already using AI to build some of that.
Yeah.
Like you got to, the stuff that we're building, the applications, you have to know how to code, but it takes away that, why am I recreating the wheel every single time? I can build it in here.
30%,
I can scan through the code and go,
30%.
there you go.
Makes
Exactly.
a big difference.
Exactly.
It is that's, in the grand scheme of things, 30%, you start thinking about margins and things like that. It's absolutely massive. And there are people that are also like very technically capable or have a great idea that they want to execute, but maybe they're not creative or they don't know where to start. Like, how awesome is this for them? And people will look at that and say, well, you're cheating, you're ripping off but all of human existence has been ripping off what we've seen before. Like,
right.
There's
Facebook came from MySpace and MySpace came from whatever.
This is just a different version of that. And it's just getting easier, but you still have to make the effort and you still have to have, in order for it to do something, you still have to provide value. You can't just create a new Salesforce and call it Salesforce 2 and get 1 million subscribers, right? Like,
didn't they have that for restaurants like a while ago where they're like a bad McDonald's or something like that? They're like, they're like joke restaurants, but they had like the same thing, but they was allowed to do it because it was like a spoof.
Parody.
Yeah, like parody
laws
restaurants.
kick
really?
in.
No, I don't know anything about that.
I feel like they had like bad McDonald's, shitty Starbucks, like.
Was it like right next to the other McDonald's, like the real McDonald's?
No, but they would do like the exact same thing. They would just call them like joke and then same name.
Jeez.
I don't know. Maybe I wish we could should look
Fact check
like
that one.
Fact check.
Snopes.
You listen to other podcasts and they're like, you go look that up for me because I think that could have been a dream.
So
what do you guys think is going to happen with this?
Well, that's what I was going to add. That's literally what I was going to ask you. Where do you see this going then? Because you're knee deep into a lot of the voice, a lot of the AI avatar look to it. Where do you see this going with the technology as fast as it's evolving?
Yeah.
Where do you see bigger applications?
Well, I mean, you're looking at how fast this is going. Like, once they're able to like start to get better chips, and it's going to get even more, right? It's going to get even crazier. But with all like this vibe stuff that's happening, right? OpenAI just has their image generator. You played with that at all?
Yeah. Yep.
That's sweet.
Yep. Just did last night. I was just showing these guys some pictures of me working out at the gym. Just huge.
Yeah, that is sweet. So now they've got vibe coding, they've got vibe marketing. But when we're looking at these SaaS products, I honestly don't know. Like, do you think it's just going to be a race to the basement where people are they're duplicating all these softwares that they already know are successful, that they already know solve problems, and they're saying, okay, well, this company's charging $500 per month per seat, right? We can come in at $400 per month per seat, and we've got the exact same thing.
Yes.
And then
or
the sales guys,
lower version of it, because I see a lot of how software traditionally anyway has gone, where they come out like Salesforce, HubSpot, all of them in the beginning were like, oh, it does this. It's a CRM. It's called a CRM. And that was the whole new thing. And it stores addresses and names and email addresses. oh, and then we're going to build this on, then we're going to build this on, and then it grows into this behemoth
Right.
at the end, and you're going to pay $80,000 a month, and then companies go, I'm not paying that high of a price. I only need this much. I'm going to go to this other company that just started out, and they have the basics that I need.
Yeah.
And then eventually they grow and become big, and then the next one, and then the next one. And I see that over and over and over, where it's just small subsets of bigger software, where I just need these kind of tools, and then that evolves into something over the next 3 years. They get sold off to Oracle or something huge.
Yeah.
And then the next one. I think that's going to happen a lot more. I think you're going to see that a lot quicker coming out, because the time to the entry to market is a lot faster. So I think you're going to have a lot more of these like micro applications that come out. And if you don't want to use it, you build your own. That part of it is coming out of it that we never had before.
I think that's going to happen
like you said,
a lot.
nobody's doing this. I'm just going to build my own.
I think it's a mixture of the two things that you just said. So if you say, I don't want to...
Another Pete's prediction.
Evan, mark this too. You okay? I know I need a CRM. It's a pain in the ass to keep all this stuff in Excel like I have been doing. I know there's this thing called Salesforce. I'm a startup, but I'm not going to go spend all this money on Salesforce every month. I can't afford it. But there is this offshoot. It has a small subset of it. I'm going to get that. Or you could say, I'm going to get, we got to create a term for this, but I want to get a morphing software. So give me that, but when I use it and it's got the features that I paid for, but I want something different, I want to just be able to tell the software to start doing that now. So
it's almost like build your own software off that platform.
Right. But like as I'm using it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, if I'm trying to think of a really good example, but you know, instead I want to have, I know I have all these email addresses and contacts and phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. That's great. But I want to be able to organize them by regions, and that's not an existing feature. So it just says, oh, well, let me work on that for you. And then it goes and it does it. And then it's got a new little button that says, go to regional contacts.
Yeah.
And it just exists now because I spoke it into existence. Like
Yes.
That's probably
where I see it going.
Did we save that as a prediction?
Yeah, I'd
got
like to
that,
save that one. That's a good one.
So I think you're right. And I think what will most likely happen is I think the subscription market will probably go down a little bit. And you've shifted my thought here, because I thought it would just be like a race to the basement and then everything online would be free. What will probably happen is we'll probably get this influx of vibe coders, right? And they'll need work, right? They'll want work. They are excited about, learning how to do this stuff. And there'll be people that say like, man, Salesforce is awesome. 80% of it is awesome. And this other product is awesome. 60% of it is awesome. If it just did like these couple things, right? And then you start to say like, all right, I don't need Salesforce anymore. I need Pete's Salesforce. And I don't need Zoom anymore. I need Drew's Zoom.
Yep.
Right. And so instead of like a ripoff, you're probably just saying like there's these micro projects, right? Where people are saying like, make me that, but customize it, because the big boys aren't going to do that for me unless, I'm spending 6 figures plus, right, on an enterprise deal.
Exactly.
And that doesn't even make sense.
I thought of a different way to think about it. So iPhone and
Flip phone. Android?
Android. Thank you. I don't know. I'm an Android user. Why couldn't I come up with that? But it's always this race, and Apple gets the feature, and then 6 months later, Android has the feature. So let's say you're an Apple user, I'm an Android user. I'm subbing for you in Golf League. Your
Don't
buddies.
text me till that shit's blue, bud.
I get so much shit for that. But you're showing me something like, hey, look what my iPhone does. I'm like, oh, that is so freaking cool. My Android doesn't do that. And I just go to my Android. I'm like, hey, look at what his phone is doing. I want you to do that now. And the AI can build that software. And that's kind of what I've been trying to say is like, you're just going to start.
It's almost like software on the fly.
Yeah. Who's the character in the
like a
X-Men movies where she can morph and be whatever she wants to be?
Mystique?
Mystique.
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's like she wants to be that person, she's that person now. So if I want that feature in my software or on my phone, I just say copy that. Like the camera can look at it and say, oh, I can do that, and now I have it.
Boy, I don't think you'd be that far off with where everything's headed with generative.
Yeah, Apple would probably never do that, but Android would.
Yeah, I bet they would.
Yeah.
Apple
they
will be
would.
just a year behind like they always are, but they come out with they do it better, but they're way
sexier
behind.
version.
Yeah.
And then they'd sue each other. And didn't one of them like sue the other one, and they like paid in pennies? Like they took trucks with loads of pennies or nickels.
I've heard
or
of that
something.
happening. I didn't know if it was Apple and
I think
great.
Yeah, I think it was Apple. I think they paid Samsung with like truckloads of pennies for $100 million lawsuit. Sent them just like dump trucks full of
you
pennies.
gotta back up
Just
to
to
Fort Knox.
spite them.
just to
Yeah.
Get all the pennies.
Just to spite
It's
'em.
legal.
It would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so when we're looking at all that, I think you guys are right. I think that it'll probably shift more towards that for the simple stuff, right? I think there's so many people that are worried, like, man, what are engineers going to do? We're always going to need engineers,
Yeah.
right? They're just going to shift a little bit to like what it is that they're working on, and whether that's managing these different AI tools, and you're just
Someone's still got to use it. Someone's still got to use it. Someone's still got to build it.
Think about this. Like, how long has Wix and WordPress and Squarespace and all these things been around? Right?
Time.
Yep.
You just told me like your business sells websites.
Mm-hmm.
Well, probably some of them could be made in these other platforms, but people don't, because they're like, no, I don't have time. I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to go through the learning curve. Like, just make it for me.
Yep.
And I'll pay because I'm really good at this. This is where I make all my money. I don't make money on like, that's not my business.
Right.
Right. So people are always going to pay because people pay to, not have to deal with stuff that they don't like.
And
I
for
could
us,
have an apple tree in my backyard if I wanted an apple, but I gotta grow the tree, I gotta water it, I gotta prune the tree. Like,
Go get some eggs are too expensive. Go get some chickens.
yeah, no,
thanks.
I'm still gonna just go buy eggs.
Exactly. And for us, I mean, seeing that shift already, and we've already been shifting to if anybody can build it, that's great, but you're not going to build it great. So our viewpoint is to come in as a strategy partner in the beginning to here's how we are going to build it. And that's where that value comes in going, great. Just because you have the tool, just because you have a hammer doesn't mean you can swing it and pound a nail in.
Yeah.
Having a contractor with a nail gun
nor should
works
you.
a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
So, well, all right, we got to wrap this up.
What?
We got to wrap it up.
11:05.
11:05.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'll have to, like I told you, I could talk.
Oh,
I talk a lot, and that's the.
brother, we could talk about this all day
I
too.
know.
This is
Next time we
awesome
should
stuff.
do it about over beers, because I'd love to tell you guys what we're doing with Avoa. So Avoa was built because of, for sales guys, you guys would love this, because we built Avoa because we were having all these demos, all these meetings, and we had no idea what was happening with the rest of the teams, right? And so I know we got to wrap, so I won't get into it, but maybe like, another
Yeah,
show.
we're gonna have to continue
We
this.
will.
months or something.
There are certain people that we know we just have to bring back because things are going to change and there's going to be updates to
Yeah.
what they're working on, and you're in that.
So much
boat,
more to explore. Yeah.
But we
And
can
that's-
also go grab beers too.
That
so.
story is crazy because that one we're actually trying to get funding. Like, we're going through different rounds. So that,
Nice.
Wow.
I mean, if we want to go through like sales war stories and nonsense, like that's a fun one.
Cool.
Nice. Well, John, thanks for joining us today. Thanks
Hey,
for
guys, it
being
was
on
fun.
with us. Tell everybody where they can
Hopefully I
find you.
didn't, too much of this.
No, we've
burping
been
in
good.
the
I think we've
mic.
been behaving pretty well.
Every time I've done it, I've thought about it. Like, oh man, he told me not to do that.
Evan
Get
will take care of it.
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
So I live in Ada. No, just kidding. I'm on every social media, John Butler, no H. And you can go to echo-x.ai, Avoa AI,
EVOA.
EVOA.ai. Yeah, and so those are the two that we're working on right now. And yeah, if you got any questions,
Awesome.
love to talk to people about it.
Appreciate you
Appreciate
being
your time,
on,
man.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
If you want to know more, like and subscribe. Thanks, everybody.